This is The Professionals, a podcast by music business technology and broadcast media technology students on Outcast OCCR Owens Community College Radio. In this series, students will interview industry professionals in their respective fields to help gather an idea of what it's like to work in their industry.
Hello, my name is Megan O'Neill. I'm here on the Professionals Interview Podcast with...
Hi, I'm Fred Lefevre, host of Fred Lefevre in the Morning News on 1370 WSPD.
So what first attracted you to radio? How did you know you wanted to be on it?
Well, I didn't know I wanted to be on it. That's kind of the odd thing.
Right.
After driving for 45 years, it was never in my plans. I didn't go to school for it originally or anything for it. I was working at grocery stores in the Detroit area. People kept saying, geez, you're kind of funny and got a nice personality. You should be on the radio. So after much pressure from those kind of people, I went to a broadcast school in Detroit area called Specs Howard School of Broadcast Arts.
Yeah.
After the course that I took there, which was a 32-week course, they helped me find work, and I've been working in radio ever since then, which would be the late 70s.
Ah, so kind of other people suggested it to you. That's like you.
Yeah, it was never a thought of mine to go into radio. I mean, now that I've done it, after doing it the first few years, I realized, wow, this is something I could do for the rest of my life, and I'm really enjoying it, and I have ever since.
That's great. So what are your areas of expertise? Like, what do you do on a day-to-day basis?
Oh, wow.
A lot?
Actually, I've done a little bit of everything, which is what they told us at the broadcast school. They said, when you go in to get a job, someone doing the interview is going to ask you if you can do this. Always say yes.
Right.
And you'll learn at some point how. Even if you're not sure you can, at least, just say yes and be sure to try everything.
Mm-hmm.
So when I first started, I did a show, I did sales, I did promotions, I did production. By the time I left that first station, I was a partial owner of another radio station in a different state. And when I left that station and moved to Toledo in 1980, I was actually the station manager. So I've done every job that you could do at a radio station, everything from news to promotions to production to sales to on-air to management.
Wow, so you're like a real professional of the radio, been through it all. What would you say are like
kind of
pros and cons?
a master of none, though. So
right. What do you say are pros and cons of your profession?
Well, the cons nowadays are that there just are no people coming into the profession, and they're not replacing people with new people. And when I leave, there is no one right now to take my place locally, which would really be harmful to the station, quite frankly,
right?
Because you have a local voice. Mm-hmm. And at this point, no one's being trained to take my place, and so a national voice would probably come in. Now, for the company, and for a lot of companies, that's a good thing. And they see it as a bonus to the local people because they're able to offer, for instance, Ryan Seacrest to Toledo. And normally people in Toledo wouldn't be able to hear Ryan Seacrest because he's such a big deal.
Right.
So they see it as a bonus. I see the local voice as more of a bonus because they're in touch with the audience. They know what's going on in their city. They know what's going on with their politicians. They understand what's happening in the market.
Exactly. How do you personally stay up to date on these current events and like your listeners' interests?
Well, I do probably about 3 hours every night of show prep, various news sources, both local national, and depending on what the story is, if I'm going to talk about it the next day, sometimes international newspapers and international websites, just to get that perspective. I mean, if I know I'm going to talk about the Middle East the next day, I'll read a English language version of Al Haaretz, which is a Jewish newspaper, or I'll look at a newspaper from Saudi Arabia or something if they have an English version. Mm-hmm. So I understand what those folks over there are looking at the situation as. But I do about 3 hours every night, and then anything really that happens during the day to me is part of the show. It ends up being part of the show.
Right.
And I attend a lot of meetings, and I keep a close watch on what's going on politically, locally.
Mm-hmm. A lot of research goes into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it has to be in your head so that you're ready to talk about it if the topic happens to come up that day. Even if I didn't plan on talking about it, I need to be ready for it.
Right. Do you do any continuing education? You mentioned you did the course, the 32-week course at the beginning. Do you do any classes or workshops like today?
No, there's not really anything available for most radio people. There used to be conventions for morning shows and things like that. But that was when we went to a few of those. But that was when there were a lot of morning shows, that every radio station had a morning show. So you could go to a convention in Las Vegas, for instance, and you would see 150, 200 or more different teams that did morning radio because they were coming from all over the country.
Right.
Well, now there's like Bob and Tom or some of the other shows, The Breakfast Club and some other shows like that. Mm-hmm. They're broadcast on hundreds of stations. So there's no reason to do that. And most of the content is held strictly by the corporate folks. So there's not really any reason. Those conventions used to be so that people could share ideas about what was working in their market and whether or not it could work in yours.
Yeah, now it's just a smaller group of people actually doing it and being projected like that.
Right, and a lot of them do the same things. They just call them different things. So it'll be husband versus wife, or War of the Roses, or man versus wife, but it's all basically the same concept.
So what do you do before a show? Do you have any pre-show rituals, or how do you prepare in the morning, right before you go on air?
Well, I get to the station around 4:30 or so.
Oh, wow.
A little bit after 4 o'clock, and I do the sports. I record sports for both myself and then for the Bob and Tom show on WIOT, which we carry out of Indianapolis. But we want local sports when they take their sports breaks. So I record the sports for that. I go through and make sure I know which of my endorsed clients are running that day and pull out the bullet point contracts for them so that I'm aware of who's going to run when. I make sure that the weather and news are updated for both my station and the other ones in the building. And then I just take a last look at the news, make sure there isn't anything that I'm missing.
Is all of this live on air, or do you record any segments pre-recorded?
I try not to pre-record things unless it's from out of town. I did an interview with Judy Collins before her Toledo appearance last week, and the only way to do that was to record her ahead of time and then run it back the next day. But my show is all live.
All right. Well, that is all the time we have today. Thank you so much. I appreciate all your answers and your time and your willingness to do this with me.
Well, thank you very much for asking me. I appreciate it.
Of course. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
This has been the Professionals Podcast by Music Business Technology and Broadcast Media Technology students. Join us next time on Outcast OCCR Owens Community College Radio.